Rachel worked long hours at a small diner on the edge of town. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, or at least most of them. She was a single mother doing her best to provide for her 6-year-old daughter, Emma. Between rent, groceries, and school supplies, every penny counted. Rachel's days were a blur of coffee pots, sticky counters, and endless orders. But no matter how tired she felt, she always made time for Emma. Her little girl was her light, her reason to keep going, even when life felt overwhelming. One chilly Tuesday morning, Rachel faced a problem. Her usual babysitter had called in sick, and she had no one else to watch Emma. Desperate, she decided to bring her daughter to work with her. "Now remember," Rachel said as they walked into the diner, "stay close to me, okay? And if you get bored, there's paper and crayons in my bag." Emma nodded eagerly, clutching her favorite stuffed bunny. "I'll be good, Mommy." The diner was already bustling when they arrived. Customers filled nearly every booth, chatting over plates of pancakes and steaming cups of coffee. Rachel tied her apron around her waist and got to work, keeping one eye on Emma as she darted between tables, refilling drinks and dropping off food. For a while, everything seemed fine. Emma sat quietly in a corner booth, coloring pictures and humming softly to herself. Rachel glanced over occasionally, relieved to see her daughter content. But then, something unexpected happened. A well-dressed man walked into the diner, a rarity in this part of town. He looked out of place among the regulars, wearing a tailored suit and carrying a leather briefcase. His sharp features and piercing blue eyes drew attention, but he seemed lost in thought as he slid into a booth by the window. Rachel approached him with her notepad, ready to take his order. "What can I get for you?" she asked politely. "Just coffee. Black," he replied, barely looking up from his phone. As Rachel turned to leave, she heard the sound of tiny footsteps behind her, and then a voice that made her blood run cold. "Daddy!" Rachel spun around just in time to see Emma running toward the man, her arms outstretched. Before Rachel could stop her, Emma threw herself into his lap, hugging him tightly. The man froze, staring down at the little girl in shock. Rachel's heart sank. This wasn't possible. Was it? Time seemed to freeze as Rachel stood there, her notepad slipping from her fingers and fluttering to the floor. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of what was happening. "Daddy," Emma repeated, hugging the man even tighter. "I missed you." The man, Michael Reynolds, looked completely stunned. His eyes darted between Emma's smiling face and Rachel's horrified expression. I'm sorry," he stammered, gently prying Emma off his lap. "I think there's been a mistake. I don't have any children." Rachel felt her stomach drop. She quickly rushed over, scooping Emma into her arms. "I'm so sorry," Rachel said, her voice trembling. "She must be confused. Please forgive her." Emma squirmed in Rachel's arms, looking confused. "But Mommy, it's Daddy. He came back." Michael frowned, his brow furrowing as he studied the little girl. There was something eerily familiar about her wide eyes and bright smile. They reminded him of someone, though he couldn't quite place who. "Wait," Michael said slowly, glancing at Rachel. "Is there something you're not telling me?" Rachel hesitated, her heart pounding. This wasn't how she'd imagined this moment, if she'd ever let herself imagine it at all. "Can we talk outside?" she asked quietly, avoiding his gaze. Michael nodded, still looking bewildered. "Of course." Rachel carried Emma to the corner booth where she had been coloring earlier. "Sweetheart, stay here for a minute, okay? Finish your picture while I talk to." She trailed off, unsure how to refer to him. "Daddy," Emma offered innocently. Rachel forced a tight smile. "Just stay here, okay?" Once Emma was settled, Rachel led Michael to a quiet spot near the diner's entrance. Her hands trembled as she crossed her arms, bracing herself for what came next. "That little girl," Michael began, his voice low but intense. "She called me Dad." "Why?" Rachel took a deep breath, knowing there was no way out of this now. "Her name is Emma. She's 6 years old. And she's yours." Michael staggered back as if struck. "Mine?" What do you mean, she's mine? We were together once, Rachel explained softly. Years ago, just briefly. Afterward, I found out I was pregnant, but I didn't know how to reach you, or even if you'd want to be involved. So I raised her on my own. Michael stared at her, his mind racing. Memories of their brief relationship came flooding back. A summer fling that had ended abruptly when his career took off. At the time, he'd assumed it was just a fleeting connection. He never dreamed it had resulted in something so profound. You never told me, he said finally, his voice heavy with emotion. I didn't know how, Rachel admitted, tears welling up in her eyes. I was scared. Scared you wouldn't care, or worse, that you'd try to take her away from me. Michael ran a hand through his hair, clearly overwhelmed. I can't believe this. I have a daughter. Before either of them could say more, Emma appeared beside them, tugging on Rachel's sleeve. Mommy, why are you crying? She asked, her big eyes filled with concern. Rachel knelt down, wiping her tears away. It's okay, sweetheart. Everything's going to be okay. Michael watched the exchange, his heart breaking and swelling at the same time. For the first time in years, he realized what truly mattered, and he wasn't about to walk away without fighting for it. Rachel stood frozen, her heart pounding as she watched Michael process the revelation. Emma clung to her leg, oblivious to the weight of the moment, while Michael struggled to find his words. I don't understand, he said finally, his voice strained. Why didn't you tell me? Didn't I deserve to know? Rachel sighed deeply, guilt washing over her. It wasn't that simple, she admitted. When I found out I was pregnant, we'd already gone our separate ways. You were focused on your career, building your company, and I didn't want to disrupt that. But still, Michael pressed, his tone tinged with frustration. You could have reached out. A letter, a call, anything. Do you know what it feels like to learn you have a child after 6 years? Yes, I do, Rachel shot back, her own emotions bubbling to the surface. Because for 6 years, I've been doing this alone. Every late night, every missed paycheck, every time she cried for something I couldn't give her. It was all on me. And now you're here, acting like I owed you some kind of explanation. Michael winced at her words, realizing how selfish he sounded. He took a step back, running a hand through his hair as he tried to calm himself. I'm sorry, he said quietly. That came out wrong. I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at myself, for not being there, for not knowing. Rachel softened slightly, seeing the pain in his eyes. I didn't keep her from you because I wanted to punish you, she explained. I did it because I was scared. Scared you wouldn't care. Scared you'd try to take her away. And mostly, scared I wouldn't be enough for her. Michael nodded slowly, understanding creeping in. You've done an incredible job raising her, he said sincerely. She's amazing, smart, kind, full of life. That's all you. Tears spilled down Rachel's cheeks, and she quickly wiped them away. Thank you, she whispered. Just then, Emma tugged on Michael's sleeve, pulling his attention to her. Are you really my daddy? She asked, her voice small but hopeful. Michael knelt down so they were eye to eye. Yeah, sweetheart, he replied softly. I am. And I'm so sorry I wasn't here before. Emma studied him for a moment, then threw her arms around his neck. I forgive you, she said simply. The words hit Michael like a tidal wave. He hugged her tightly, blinking back tears of his own. As Rachel watched the tender moment unfold, she felt a flicker of hope. For the first time, maybe this could work. But trust wouldn't come easily, and they both knew it. There was still so much to figure out. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions for Rachel, Michael, and Emma. After their conversation at the diner, Michael insisted on staying in touch, starting with small steps to build trust. He offered to take Emma out for ice cream later that week, an invitation she eagerly accepted. Rachel, however, remained cautious. While part of her wanted to believe Michael's intentions were genuine, another part feared he might disappear again, or worse, try to take Emma away from her. You don't have to worry, Michael assured her during one of their phone calls. I'm not here to disrupt your life or take over. I just want to be part of hers. And yours, if you'll let me. His sincerity caught Rachel off guard. She had spent so long guarding herself against disappointment that she wasn't sure how to respond. I need time, she admitted finally. This is all happening so fast. For both of us. I get it, Michael said softly. Take all the time you need. But please know I'm serious about being here. For good. True to his word, Michael began making an effort to connect with Emma. Their first outing was simple, a trip to the local ice cream shop, but it meant the world to Emma. She chattered nonstop, telling him about her favorite cartoons, her best friend at school, and the picture she'd drawn of their family, which now included him. Michael listened intently, marveling at how easily she opened up to him. It was clear she hadn't held any grudges. She simply wanted to love him and be loved in return. For Rachel, watching them bond was bittersweet. On one hand, she was relieved to see Emma happy. On the other, she couldn't shake the fear that this newfound connection might unravel everything she'd worked so hard to build. One evening, after tucking Emma into bed, Rachel sat down with Michael at the kitchen table. They talked openly about the past, the mistakes they'd both made and the challenges ahead. I messed up, Michael admitted. Big time. Not just by not knowing about Emma, but by letting work consume my life. I thought success would make me happy, but now I see what really matters. Rachel nodded, her defenses softening. We've both made mistakes. The question is, can we move forward together? For Emma's sake. Yes, Michael replied without hesitation. Whatever it takes. Though there was still much to figure out, Rachel felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could create something beautiful out of the broken pieces of their past. Over the next few weeks, Michael became a regular presence in Rachel and Emma's lives. He started small, picking Emma up from school on Fridays, helping her with homework, or taking her to the park on weekends. Each interaction was an opportunity to build trust, not just with Emma but also with Rachel. At first, Rachel kept a watchful eye on every outing, ensuring Michael didn't overstep boundaries. But as time went on, she began to relax, noticing how genuinely invested he was in being a father. One Saturday morning, Michael arrived at their apartment with a surprise for Emma, tickets to a children's theater performance downtown. I thought we could make it a family day, he said, glancing nervously at Rachel. If that's okay with you, of course. Rachel hesitated. The idea of spending the entire day together felt like uncharted territory. But she also knew it was important for Emma to see them working as a team. Sure, she agreed finally. Let's give it a try. The outing went better than either of them expected. They laughed together during the play, shared popcorn at intermission, and even stopped by a diner afterward for milkshakes. For the first time, Rachel allowed herself to imagine what life might look like with Michael fully involved. Not as a replacement for her role, but as a partner. Emma beamed throughout the day, clearly thrilled to have both her parents together. This is so fun, she exclaimed as they walked back to the car. We should do this all the time. Rachel smiled, though part of her still held back. She appreciated Michael's efforts, but years of independence had taught her to guard her heart carefully. Later that evening, after tucking Emma into bed, Rachel sat down with Michael in the living room. You've been great with her, she admitted softly. She's really happy. So are you, Michael replied, his tone cautious but warm. I can tell you're starting to trust me more. That means everything to me. It's not easy, Rachel confessed. I've spent 6 years doing this alone. Letting someone else in. It's scary. I know, Michael said gently, and I don't expect you to forget everything overnight. All I want is to prove that I'm here, for both of you, no matter what. His sincerity touched her deeply. For the first time, Rachel realized that rebuilding their family wouldn't mean losing control. It would mean sharing the load. As the night drew to a close, Rachel felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. Maybe, just maybe, they were finding their way towards something stronger than either of them had imagined. As weeks turned into months, the bond between Michael, Rachel, and Emma grew stronger. What had started as tentative steps toward co-parenting blossomed into a genuine partnership. Michael proved himself reliable, showing up for every planned visit and going above and beyond to support Emma's needs. Whether it was helping her practice reading or cheering her on at her school play. For Rachel, letting Michael into their lives wasn't easy, but she found comfort in seeing how much joy he brought to Emma. Together, they navigated the challenges of blending their worlds, learning to communicate openly and prioritize what mattered most: Emma's happiness. One evening, after putting Emma to bed, Rachel and Michael sat down to discuss future plans. "I've been thinking," Michael began hesitantly. "Emma deserves stability, a real family dynamic where she feels secure with both of us. I'd like to take more responsibility, maybe even share custody, if you're comfortable with that." Rachel paused, considering his words carefully. It was a big step, one that required trust she hadn't fully extended yet. "I appreciate your intentions," she said slowly, "but we need to think about what's best for her. She's adjusted so well because things have been consistent. If we change too much too fast, it might confuse her." "You're right," Michael agreed. "We'll take it slow, whatever you think is best." Rachel nodded, appreciating his willingness to listen. "What I do know is having you around has made a difference for all of us. You've stepped up in ways I never expected." Michael smiled softly. "Thank you for giving me the chance. I won't let you down." Their newfound rhythm soon became a routine. Weekends were split between Rachel's apartment and Michael's spacious home, allowing Emma to experience the best of both worlds. Rachel marveled at how seamlessly they worked together now, consulting each other on decisions and supporting one another through parenting challenges. One afternoon, as they watched Emma play soccer in the park, Rachel turned to Michael with a smile. "She's thriving," she said warmly. "And honestly, so am I. I couldn't have done this alone." "Neither could I," Michael replied, meeting her gaze. "We make a good team." For the first time in years, Rachel felt hopeful, not just for Emma's future, but for her own. They weren't the traditional family she'd once imagined, but they didn't need to be. What they had was built on love, forgiveness, and a shared commitment to doing what was right. Months later, the transformation in their lives was undeniable. Michael had fully embraced his role as a father, attending parent-teacher conferences, teaching Emma how to ride a bike, and even helping Rachel with household repairs when needed. For Emma, having two loving parents actively involved in her life felt like a dream come true. Rachel, too, found herself letting go of old fears. With Michael sharing the responsibilities of parenting, she finally had time to focus on herself, pursuing hobbies she'd long neglected and even considering going back to school to advance her career. One crisp autumn morning, as they prepared for Emma's birthday party at Michael's house, Rachel reflected on how far they'd come. The backyard was decorated with balloons and streamers, and Emma ran around laughing, her face painted like a butterfly. "She's so happy," Michael said, standing beside Rachel as they watched Emma play with her friends. "I never thought I'd get to see this side of life. The joy of being a dad." "Me neither," Rachel admitted with a smile. "When I think about where we started, it feels like a miracle." Michael nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We've come a long way, and honestly, couldn't have done it without you. You've been an incredible mom, and an amazing partner through all of this." Rachel blushed slightly, touched by his words. "We're a team now. That's what matters." As the day went on, surrounded by laughter and love, Rachel realized something profound. Family wasn't defined by perfection or tradition. It was about connection, resilience, and the willingness to grow together. Later that evening, after the guests had left and Emma was fast asleep, Rachel sat on the porch with Michael, sipping hot cocoa under the stars. "I used to feel like I was carrying the weight of the world alone," Rachel confessed quietly. "But now, it doesn't feel so heavy anymore." "That's because you don't have to carry it alone," Michael replied. "We're in this together, for Emma and for each other." Rachel smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. Their journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth every step. Together, they had created something beautiful, a family rooted in forgiveness, trust, and unconditional love. And as they looked toward the future, one thing was certain. No matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side. And that's the end of The Waitress, The Daughter, and The Millionaire. Glowing star. We hope you enjoyed this heartfelt story about love, forgiveness, and the power of family. Rachel, Michael, and Emma's journey reminds us that second chances are possible when we choose to face the past with honesty and build a future with compassion. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What did you think of the story? Did it inspire you or tug at your heartstrings? Where are you watching from? If this story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe for more tales that celebrate humanity, resilience, and the beauty of relationships. Every subscription helps us continue bringing these stories to life and lets us know you'd like to see more. Lastly, drop a comment below and share. Sparkles, what was your favorite moment in the story? Sparkles, have you ever experienced a situation where forgiveness or second chances changed everything? Thank you so much for joining us on this emotional journey with Rachel, Michael, and Emma. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to share more meaningful stories with you soon. Red Heart.